everybody, and welcome to another episode of McNulty's Book Corral. I'm your host, Thomas McNulty, and today we're talking about 1959, Brains Benton. The Brains Benton series, written by Charles Spain Verrill, premiered from Whitman Books in 1959. There were 6 of these, and if you watched my episode on the Power Boys, similar type of approach. This was in response to the Hardy Boys being one of the most popular and best-selling series for young boys. Nancy Drew was the popular series for young girls. So Brains Benton, created by Charles Spain Verrill, who wrote the first one, this one, and this is the best of the series, although I like them all. Now, what happened with this series was that the books after this were subcontracted out, and Charles Spain Verrill reportedly didn't like the way they were written, so he rewrote everything after this, but they were not credited to him. They were credited to George Wyatt based on the characters created by Charles Spain Verrill. So here's the second one, The Case of the Counterfeit Coin. Now, I think they're all great. There is a bit of a cult following here out there for Brains Benton, as well there should be, along with the 3 investigators, which we'll get to in a different episode. I'm a big fan of these. I do collect these. I have a double set. This is one of the sets that I have, and so The Case of the Missing Message, 1959, and then The Case of the Counterfeit Coin followed. And again, all of the books are fun. Now this one, the third one, The Case of the Stolen Dummy, is the one I have that's water damaged, so I'm constantly on the lookout for this. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And you book collectors know what that's like. It's just a matter of prioritizing. These books were illustrated, and like many of the Whitman books from the period they didn't hold up well because the books were, Whitman, as I've mentioned in multiple episodes, Whitman did not use good quality paper. So finding them in good condition is hard. I'll find a copy of this soon. Pulling these out of storage and looking at them again reminded me how much I enjoyed them, and I need to replace my water-damaged copy. Then we had The Case of the Roving Rolls. This was a particularly good one as well. I would love to see this series reprinted along with the Power Boys. I mentioned that in the Power Boys episode. I mean, young boys today, they can have this. They'll relate to this. They're not stupid. It doesn't all have to be about computers and so forth. Like the Power Boys, we had Brains Benton and Jimmy Carson. These guys use their brains. Brains Benton himself, the character, is a teenage version of Sherlock Holmes. He even does this. He would tent his fingers when he's musing on the mystery, and very much molded after Sherlock Holmes, except he's a kid. He's Brains Benton. The Case of the Waltzing Mouse. Loved this one as well. So I want to show you the covers. And finally, the last one was The Case of the Painted Dragon. Now, this is the one, I think this is a really good book. This one has a little harder edge than the others in the series. This was the last one, early 60s. Now, it was short-lived. So this is really before the Power Boys. Again, the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew were big back then. These books are fun to read. I'm an advocate to see them reprinted. They may be on the market already. I actually didn't check. If they are, let me know. I would like to see them reprinted with the original illustrations and the covers. I think that they're just as vital and fun today as they were when I read them. And the books are about young guys using their brains and solving mysteries. And there's a lot of suspense. Running around, talking with people, and piecing clues together. It's just pure fun adventure for young readers, and I think there's a market for that. So I wanted to point that out. Now, I know, again, you book collectors out there, you're thinking, oh, come on, Tom, you've got to replace The Case of the Stolen Dummy. These have been in storage, so I forgot that I had a water-damaged copy. My other copies, this one's in pretty good shape, too, as you can see. It just depends. They're out there. eBay's a good resource for collectors. As I've mentioned before, I love to go to antique shops because when you go to antique shops, you can find a lot of this material. I think I own 3 copies of the first one. And this is probably the one that's the middle range as far as condition. But you can see how brown the paper is on these. So Whitman books had the market, but they didn't use quality resources, with the paper and the bindings, so they don't last very well. But they're collectible because people remember them fondly, and the writing was good. The writing was really good. So if you can find this set out there, do so. Share them with your family, young boys. I think even girls would enjoy these too. They're fun to read. That's a tip of the Stetson to Brains Benton. All right, and as always, thank you for checking in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, please. If you subscribe to the channel, we can keep it going. And in the meantime, feed your brain. Stay well, stay happy. Feed your brain and find The Case of the Missing Message by Charles Spain Barrow. And, illustrated by Hamilton Green. Look at that. This one is fun. If you look closely at this, by the way, before we go, I wrote my name on it as a child. That's pretty funny. I still have the book. All right. Read a book.